I'd like to start out a little different with welcoming everyone. It is with a heavy heart that I want to start off our day by taking a moment of silence for the loss of Summerhill, Southern Region Board of Director, who recently lost her battle with cancer. We've had a trying year with her loss, and it is important to take a moment to stop and think of the good memories that we've shared with those who have come before us. I would like to welcome you to Eastern Region's House of Delegates. It takes commitment to give up a day out of your weekend to do the very important business of the association. And your region officers would like to thank you for being here. My name is Lori Sherman, and it is my pleasure to serve, it has been my pleasure to serve as your Eastern Region Vice President for the past 4 years. Since this is my last welcome speech in this role, I thought I'd like to do a Tim speech. Without, of course, using the word slap nuts. So, like Tim, I brought so many articles, and if anybody wants to read my magazines, I have the latest edition of AARP, Rachel Ray Every Day, the latest in the Scandal from People magazine, and I loved her in one calls The Heart, so I'm really depressed that she's leaving. Of course, Sports Illustrated with Tiger Woods, and the one that really gave me the inspiration for my welcome speech, which was Time Magazine's The 100 Most Influential People. So as I was reading the April 29th, May 6, 2019 edition of Time Magazine, which focused on the world's 100 most influential people, as I was reading and looking at the names, I was impressed to see and read about Jay O'Donnell and Emily Connor. If you don't know who they are, I'd like to take a moment to read what Dolores Huerta, a civil rights activist who co-founded what is now the United Farm Workers of America, wrote. Teachers are the foundation of democracy. They're the conscience of our society. When teachers stand up for themselves, as Jay O'Connell and Emily Connor did in West Virginia, as others who have since done in Oklahoma, Arizona, California, and beyond, it is a message to all of us. If teachers are standing up, you can stand up too. I was also impressed to see two people who have roots to Eastern Region amongst the top 100 as well. The first one, who was born in Wyomissing, is Taylor Swift, which is no surprise. Here is what Shawn Mendes, a Grammy-nominated musician, said about Taylor. Taylor makes the job of creating music for millions of people look easy. It all comes from her belief in magic and love, and her ability to be honest and raw as possible. She's the master of putting the perfect amount of thought into not overthinking, and that's why her music connects so well. Taylor makes everyone older feel young again, and anyone young feel that they can do anything. It's so rare and so special. If there is one thing I want to achieve in my career and life, it's that. And last but not least, from Freedom High School is Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, who I actually watched in many football games because I am, for those of you who don't know it, his coach there, Jody Swick, and I, our families did everything together. Right, Jack, Coach Jody? So we were able to see Dwayne when he was in high school. Gail Gadget, who stars next to Johnson in the upcoming movie Red Notice, shared some insights on how Dwayne is perceived by people he works with. Dwayne is someone who believes the sky is the limit and will go above and beyond to make sure he gives 100% every single day. Whether he was at the gym, working with his charity, the Dwayne Johnson Rock Foundation, being with his family and friends, or working on a new project. He is the true embodiment of the idea that people may forget what you said. People may forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. Dwayne always makes sure people feel their best when he is around. Time's Top 100 is mainly made up of celebrities, but I would like all of you to know how influential you are to me. And to all the people who serve through your union work. When I ran for this position, as gentlemen know, you took a chance on electing me. You gave me a chance to promote a family atmosphere. You gave me a chance to touch your lives. It has been an honor to serve as your Eastern Region Vice President, and I will never forget the way you made me feel. You made me feel my best when all of you were around. And with that, I would like to call Elaine Hinderleiter, our Region Secretary, to lead us in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And now I'd like to introduce Tim Kearney, our third rep, for the invocation.
How to get it in there. I do have those magazines if you want.
Thank you. Before I share my thoughts, I'd just like to do a moment of silence for, there was an Allentown teacher, Lauren Carter, who passed away this week. I talked to a teacher at Dodd where she taught, and I said, I'm giving an invocation, what should I say? And he said, she always brought out the best in her students, and she hid her illness from the students that she taught so that they wouldn't be impacted. So if we could just do a quick moment of silence. And then, instead of a moment of silence, I want a moment of hello for Audrey. Audrey Matheson, for those of you that don't know, had a heart attack. She's fine. She's at home, recovering. But I went to see her in the hospital, and she said she is going to miss coming here this weekend. So since she can't be here, I just wanted to bring us to her. So I would like to just videotape you guys just applauding.
I love it.
Okay. Say hello, Audrey.
Hi, Audrey.
Thank you. I'll send that to her. So, this is my last invocation. That's not an applause line, please. After this meeting, my wife and I are going, and my daughter are going to New York. They're going to raise funds for the 9/11 Museum. So as I was thinking about today overall, I was always struck by Father Michael Judd. He was victim 0001. And famous picture of him being carried out of the rubble. He wasn't a perfect man. He wrote about that. Anger issues, alcohol. But I read his biography, and I pulled some things out that I thought were appropriate. I thought about how you all give your time. This is what he had to say. Time is a gift from God. What you receive as a gift, give as a gift. And you're all doing that. I thought about all the great things that we've accomplished. This is what he had to say. The wonderful thing in saying yes and accepting God's grace is that we could say no and walk away, but when we say yes and go forward, great and wonderful things will happen. It takes courage in the midst of fear, but you do it. And I thought about what's next for all of us. When I don't know what's next, I pray, Lord, take me, mold me, fashion me, show me what you want. I thought about how some of us are a mess. All of us. Some more than others. This is what he had to say. If no one told you today that they love you, let me tell you I love you. And no matter what mess you're in, you're always held and loved by God. But for my final prayer, I found a quote where he's at a house in the morning. It happened to be at a firehouse the day before he died. This is what he had to say, but it reminds me of the work you do in your profession and union. And there were some personal things in here that this would be a last prayer if I had to come up with a prayer for you. It's a nice combination of all the prayers I've done up here. We come to this house this morning to celebrate renewal and new life. We come to thank God for the blessings over all the years. Good work that's been done. We can never thank God enough for the reality of the lives we have. So, standing in his presence this morning, let us pause for a moment, perhaps even close our eyes, and thank God for the special blessings in our individual lives. Thank you, Lord, for life. Thank you for love. Thank you for goodness. Thank you for work. Thank you for family. Thank you for friends. Let us enjoy each other's company. No matter how big the call, no matter how small, God needs you. Keep supporting each other. Be kind to each other. Love each other. Work together. There is a difficult job, and God calls you to do it. And then he gives you a love for it so that a difficult job will be well done. Thank you. Amen. And thank you.
While as a union, we are still healing from the devastating loss of an amazing leader, on a personal level, many of us are still coping with the loss of an even more amazing friend. Yes, as the first education support professional to head PSEA, Dolores made history. But as one of the most compassionate leaders this association has ever known, she made her impact. This union, like this world, is better because Dolores was in it. Therefore, to honor her, like Dolores, let us always conduct our business and ourselves with integrity and class. Let us always be steadfast in fighting for what is right, and let us always do what needs to be done to move this association forward. So with that in mind, it is my honor as your region president to present to you my 4th annual State of the Region address. My friends and colleagues, over the past year, Eastern Region PSEA has again played a pivotal role in our state association. Our support of Governor Tom Wolf, including the Education Funding Works campaign in which several of you took part, helped him win the majority of counties in this region and ultimately a second term in office, ensuring that public education will continue to have a friend in that position. In fact, at his inaugural ball, which I and several others here attended, the governor again confirmed his commitment to our cause. Not only did Eastern PSEA have the pleasure of hosting the governor at our legislative breakfast here this time last year, but we also welcomed more than half a dozen state legislators, the majority of whom incidentally were Republican, but all of whom were kind enough to join us. We were also happy to host our now Lieutenant Governor, John Fetterman, at our Stellar Region Kickoff Celebration, which featured the Emmaus High School Chorale. And at last month's Region Leadership Conference, which was held here, we hosted State Auditor General Eugene DePasquale. It has been a tenet of this region that as long as politicians are involved in education, educators must remain involved in politics. As former PSEA President Annette Palutis says, every decision about public education is a political decision, and you can either be a part of the process or a pawn in the process. In Eastern PSEA, we choose not only to participate, but to shape those conversations because we refuse to allow lawmakers to make decisions about us without us. That said, however, I issue you this challenge. In addition to visiting Central Region last fall, I have recently visited the Northeastern, Southeastern, Southern, and ESP region houses, and I plan on visiting Mid-Eastern next week. We trail many of these regions and the amount of money contributed to the PSEA Political Action Committee for Education, or PACE. But I know that we can do better, which is why I encourage you before leaving today to volunteer to donate to PACE and see Rosalie for that, so that we can help contribute to the campaigns of pro-public education candidates at the local and state level, regardless of party. While the 2018 general election moved us closer to a pro-public education legislative majority in this state, as a nation, we were dealt a blow as the United States Supreme Court reversed its own 40-year-old ruling by entitling freeloaders to receive union services. In anticipation of losses which we might sustain, we preemptively and repeatedly informed members of all they could lose by leaving PSEA. But instead of that court decision tearing us apart, it brought us together. Defying even the most optimistic prognostications, to date, fewer than 1/2 of 1% of our region members have dropped out of this association, which is a testament to our collective faith in this organization, but more importantly to the positive influences that you as local leaders have in espousing the virtues of unionism. All that said, however, we are nowhere near out of the woods yet, and even one drop is one too many. Which is why we must do all that we can to bring these former members back into the fold, to let them know that we still value them, and that they will always be welcomed back home in PSEA where they belong. We know that if we do not define ourselves, we will allow our opponents to define us. That is why we continue to share our positive messages on social media. You'll see behind me the avenues for social media. Posts on our public Eastern PSEA officers page, facebook.com/EasternPSEA, have received over 5,000 views in the past month alone. Meanwhile, our staff-driven, members-only Facebook page recently peaked at 1,000 members. We are also on Twitter and Instagram using the handle and the hashtag EasternPSEA. I urge you all to follow us on social media and share your stories, because in this age, that is a great way to share our stories with the public. To benefit from the zeitgeist of the Red for Ed movement, in which public support for public education is at an all-time zenith, our union must continue to get our name and our message out there. One way that we have done this is by expanding upon our community connections. This past year, we sponsored the Gabriel Youth Orchestra, the United Way, the Lehigh Valley Press, TeenWorks, the Writing Music Foundation, and the State Theater Freddie Awards. We offered our members more opportunities for personal interactions and professional growth. Families were able to enjoy our Out of This World Fall Festival, as well as hockey outings with the Reading Royals and the Lehigh Valley Phantoms. Our Super Leadership Conference, which for the first time featured a trivia night and a Friday night only option, was well attended and received. And we have offered our members important workshops through our IPD committee, with topics ranging on how to deal with violent students to drug and gang awareness. Our collective bargaining and retirement and welfare workshops were also very popular, and by combining the efforts of our PACE, ACE, and legislative chairs, we were able to offer multiple trainings this past year to teach our members how to better interact with legislators. If you visit our region office, you will notice a giant fathead sticker on the wall, and which features our logo, and a new additional shed in the back. But you will also see, Lori, that we finally got our beautiful new sign outside. Thank you, Jeff. We finally got our beautiful sign outside, making our antiquated little building just a little bit nicer for those who work and visit there. As always, our region has been very active at the state level. Your Region Vice President, Lori Sherman, is an essential part of the PSEA Constitutional Bylaws Committee. Your third representative, Tim Carney, heads up the PSEA Healthcare Committee, and I serve on the PSEA Personnel Committee as well as the Board Liaison to the Educational Justice Committee. Jason Capone is serving another year as Vice Chair of the PSEA Member Benefits Board. Jenna Broadhead was featured on the PSEA Pi Day video, and Matthew Landrum represents us on the PSEA New Member Task Force. Tori Kerbler from Panther Valley and Louis Vanderhorst from Reading attended the governor's budget address and were featured in the PSEA Respect campaign. PSEA's 45K Advocacy Day also involved Eastern Region members Kim Martin from St. Clair, Angela Faust from Tamaqua, and Panther Valley's Kirsten Rivera, Kayla Field, Frederick Hurling, and Amanda Cusco, who is with us here for the very first time at her first Region House. In fact, if you are a first-timer, would you please stand so that we can recognize you first-timers? And we do hope that this is the first of many Region Houses you will attend. Exeter's Matt Hathaway, whom we have spotlighted in previous years, was recently recognized at a gala hosted by NEA and received a $100,000 grant through the Berks County Intermediate Unit from the Pennsylvania Department of Education for his Teachers in the Parks program. Penn Argyle's Ryan Hinton joined Parkland's Eric Gopin as a winner of the PSEA Innovative Teaching Grant. Congratulations, Brian. Parkland President Sandy Gockenbach was featured in the PSEA Voice to herald the benefits of union membership. And Stephanie Tolles was elected as one of our state's newest NEA directors, in which capacity she, along with our own NEA director, Kevin Dealey, traveled throughout the country, including Washington, D.C., Denver, and Las Vegas, to represent our interests at the national level. Our aspiring educators also remained involved in PSEA. We attended their year-end banquets and celebrated as former region and state student PSEA President Marie Hutchings, now a teacher in Utah, accepted the 2018 State Excellence Award at the NEA Student Leadership Conference in Minneapolis. That city also served as the site of last year's NEA Representative Assembly, where we treated the entire student PSEA delegation to dinner, welcomed new delegates such as Grace Lee from Wilson, and cheered on Easton's Mary Rose as she served for the first time on the NEA RA Planning Committee. Regarding the upcoming RA to be held in Houston this summer, for the first time in recent memory, Eastern Region had more candidates vying for state delegate positions than spots available. Also this summer, at the Gettysburg Leadership Conference, our region is hoping to hold another social at a winery like we did last year at Hauser Estates. And next fall, we are looking to revisit the picturesque Folino Estates in Kutztown, the location of our best attended Region Council meeting last year. Of course, one of the brightest highlights of every year occurred again last night as we hosted our annual scholarship banquet and awards ceremony, which again featured the Reading High School Jazz Ensemble. And for the third year in a row, Eastern Region PSEA presented our scholarship winners, the graduating children of our members, with $1,000 each to continue their education. Last night, we were also honored to welcome Boyertown icon Barb Bigler and Schuylkill County retired Mayor Joe Kozlowski for their contributions. Ladies, stand so we can recognize you, please. Barb and Joe, stand up so we can say hi to you. So many great things happening in this region. Since this body last met, our locals have experienced triumphs, such as Shenandoah's 5-year bargaining agreement, and tribulations, such as Tamaqua's fight against a school board policy that would allow guns in schools. Whatever the situation, good or bad, Eastern PSEA will always be here to support our locals, because our region's success is contingent upon our local success. But it is also contingent upon your participation in region activities, which is why I'm asking you to identify up-and-coming leaders in your locals who might want to get more involved with PSEA by serving on a region committee. Committees only meet a handful of times a year, promise, and are a great way to grow a network. We even celebrate the work that these volunteers do by taking them out to dinner at the end of every year. With all the important work that we do, it is important to take the time and make the time to gather together in celebration. Just as Lori, Tim, and I did with our friends from Northeastern Region, to honor our shared field manager, Walt Wojcik, as he left that role to become the PSEA Human Resources Director. And we are happy to welcome Walt's replacement, Charlie Brill, back home to Eastern Region.
Yeah.
Overall, Eastern PSEA was well represented at state functions this year. Whether it was at the Quad Conference in Pittsburgh, the PSEA Houses of Delegates, or the local President's Conference in Hershey, Eastern Region was there. Not only attending, but often taking the lead in discussions. It wasn't only our Eastern PSEA Red for Ed wristbands that alerted others to our presence, but it was our passion and our energy that let everybody know who we are, where we're from, and what we already know. The state of our region is powerful. We are powerful because we are united in solidarity, deeply committed to the success of those who work and learn in our public schools. We are powerful because we understand that when we fight for better working conditions for our members, we are fighting for better learning conditions for our students. We are powerful because we will never apologize for standing up and speaking out for the rights of our members and the students we serve, and we are powerful because of the professionalism, zeal, and vigor with which we conduct the important business of this noble association. But in order to remain powerful, we need you to remain active, especially at the region level. Because what we do, what this association does, changes lives, and in turn, changes the world. That is why your region officers are so honored and proud to represent and serve you. Thank you for all that you do to protect, preserve, and promote the promise of public education. God bless you, God bless our public schools, and God bless Eastern Region PSEA. Are moving on now, and you will notice that this front table has been marked as reserved, and that is because we're going to ask Tim Carney and Lori Sherman to come please sit up front.
Crying already.
We have a space in between, so you don't have to sit right next to them. You know, I didn't think about it. Because I didn't want to think about it. But now I've made this video, you guys know how irritated I am. I've watched it probably 27 times, and every time I watch it, I had to go through every single picture we've ever posted on Instagram and Facebook over the past 4 years, and I had to cut it down to make it reach 2.5 minutes, but this is just a brief way for us to say thank you for everything. gave you the right bags.
It might be embarrassing. New t-shirt.
Project sucked.
Waiting to leave?
Just on behalf of Schuylkill County, they have been so loyal to us. And one of the things, if you hear anything about Schuylkill County, we kind of have our own nickname. And we wear it with pride.
And you guys don't realize this, but you know how I am with my ties. And I'm very particular about not wearing the same tie. My wife thinks I'm crazy, but not wearing the same tie at any business meetings throughout the year because I want all the pictures to look different. So when we put them in the yearbook or we put them on Facebook, they look different. But this is the first tie that I wore at our first business meeting together. And this is the tie I'm wearing at our last business meeting together. We love you guys. So with that said, I would like to introduce our outgoing Vice President, Lori Sherman. Come on up. For your point of personal privilege.
I'm glad I'm going first because I know Tim's is really long and what I've written, and I didn't write anything down, but I want to first thank my family. My son Jack is here. He's our photographer, videographer. My husband is a basketball official. He's actually at the CBOA/IBO, which is the college officials banquet. He has to give a speech for someone who's retiring there. And my oldest son is in Thailand, hence the pants that I got from Thailand when I went to visit. Without their support, I wouldn't have been able to do this. Next, I wanted to thank the state, because when we first entered into our role, Dolores was our state rep, and she sat us down and welcomed us with warm arms, and she's going to be missed, as we all know. Then it was Jerry and Jeff and Corey who opened their arms to us as state officers. The board of directors as well. When we went there, all three of us as newbies, I felt like we were joining a very powerful and a very welcoming family. They always gave us support. Next it was Walt, and at that time the Northeast region, it was Aaron, Jeff, and Heather, who we went out to dinner with them, and they were kind of our advisors, and they helped lead us through our first year together. And their support was, heartfelt, and it was great that Walt was able to set that up for us because, we were new and we were all energetic, and they helped to make that transition for us a lot better. Eastern Region staff and the UNICERVs have always been there for us. Without their support, this whole thing wouldn't be possible. There are so many people behind the scenes that until you're in these positions, you don't realize how hard they work and what they do for us to make us look good. Student PSEA, believe me, Fall Fest, which I've loved, wouldn't be possible without them. They are the strength and the endurance that they have to help us through those programs is amazing. And every time I go to their functions, I am so excited to know that when I do finally leave the profession in 2020, that we are going to be in excellent hands because they are just amazing and inspirational. Next, it's funny because last night when we were at the banquet, Nikki and Nicole, who are state and Kutztown presidents, came up to me and said, "You have to go talk to John Carlos." And I said, "Why?" They go, "Well, he said he wants to be a teacher and he's going to Moravian." And they haven't organized a student PSEA yet. So I called him over and the three of us were there and we're like, I know it's only going to be your first year, but this is something you might want to consider doing at Moravian to organize them to get another student PSEA group started. So he said he is definitely going to be looking into that. So that was, it shows you where our student PSEA is at, because they're always trying to bring more people along, and they are so far ahead of the game compared to where I was when I started. PSEA was just something you joined before you went into student teaching. And these new student PSEA members are just truly, like I said, inspirational. I want to also thank my local. I remember when this all started, Mitch said at one of our executive board meetings, you know what, Lori, you and I should run for president and vice president of Eastern Region. I said, I'm in. And eventually it only became me, but I never looked back. But I was one of those that kind of needed that little nudge to do it. And I'm so glad that not only did Mitch say that, it was kind of joking, but kind of serious, but once he said it, I was like, I can do that, I can do it. And with the support of my local, I was fortunate enough to have so many people here that supported me on that day. And like I said earlier, I was an unknown. And you gave me a chance. And I won't forget that. The last members I want to thank are the Eastern Region officers. Jenna, who was my right arm on the Constitution Committee and as our parliamentarian, and is a good friend. Wayne and Lane, you're the best. I feel like we couldn't run without you, and you make the best snacks. And I enjoy working with you when we have our special events, because it's a lot of fun just sitting down, playing cards, joking, and just being together as a family. Tim, I don't know what to say.
It's a common reaction.
You put your heart and soul into everything that you do. You are at more functions than any one of us. And in most cases, than both of us put together. And everything that you do and have done has gone not unnoticed. We've noticed. And I've enjoyed working with you these past 4 years. Bryan and I actually, I don't know if most of you know this, but we met at Gettysburg. We may both be from Reading, but I didn't know Bryan because Reading is so large. He teaches at the upper grade level, and our paths never crossed. And at a Gettysburg, we started talking, and it was one of those, where are you from? Reading. I went, so am I. So that's where we actually met. And then I said to our president, who wasn't too thrilled with him at that particular point, you know, they have this new safety and welfare committee that they're trying to promote through PSEA, and I really think Bryan's the right person for the job, and why don't you give him a chance? And he's been, you know, shaking, rattling, and rolling ever since. I was honored to be a VP with him at the Reading local. And then when he stepped up to take on the position as president, I was thrilled because he is our visionary. Bryan comes up with all the ideas. We make it happen, but without those ideas, there wouldn't be anything to make happen. And he's also been my car mate. I've heard a lot of speeches, some of them a few times, over and over, and I love to hear them because, as you all know, he is just the best when it comes to giving speeches. He's so inspiring. And every time, I feel like I've always said I'm the mom. And as your mom, I'm proud. And I can't wait to see you moving forward. Thank you.
And now, remembering that these people have had a long day, Tim, Please take your point of personal privilege, our incomparable third representative, Tim Carney.
You might not recognize this sweatshirt, or the sweater, but yeah. It's my birthday next week, that's what I'm wearing. I'm not done yet. I have 2 more years of teaching. I'm still going to be doing local work, vice president of Allentown. I'll be doing region committees. I'll be on state resolution, so I'm sorry, Jim. I joined PSEA retired. I encourage everybody to join early. Sean, congratulations. I'm just warning you that the third rep gets teased a lot. It's part of the job. It's not me, it's the job. Just Kevin, the opponent that I ran against. Thank you for giving me this position so we could have you working at the national level, because you're great.
Yeah, thank you.
Audrey Matheson was a union mentor. She also was my journalism teacher at Parkland. She taught me to talk much gooder. Reading, Mitch was an early supporter of Dennis. I already spoke to you when I was running the first time. Your support meant a lot. State officers, thank you for your patience. Lori, you said you were like the rose between 2 thorns. Thank you, and I'm honored to be leaving at the same time as you. Wayne and Elaine, a lot of people don't know there's the brains and the heart of the organization, and Wayne's all right too. Allentown, I remember saying at one Christmas dinner that I was thinking about running in Allentown. It had been a long time since we had somebody on region office. So Allentown support over the years has been tremendous. Jenna, I remember Jenna coming in all fired up from a John Clark Gettysburg. And John Clark is here, smiling today. All of you, Berks, I enjoyed your IU meetings. Adam, fantastic job. Northampton, Rosalie, I like the pizza place, but I think it's closing, or closed. The place where we used to have meetings down in the basement.
They reopened a new ownership.
There we go. Lehigh, my home, the dynamic duo, Coffee Box. Fantastic job. Carvin, going up to Barb's home, having dinner up there, and enjoyed that small group family. Scoop. Scoop started different. One of the first meetings I went to, they said, you gotta try this city chicken. It's not chicken, but it's city chicken, is that right? It's fantastic. And it's just a fun, you guys run a great organization up there. So I enjoyed getting to know everybody. I'm gonna miss going to the meetings. I put in a lot of time, but I love doing it. It was a lot. Don't get me wrong, but it was fantastic. I want to thank Bryan. Well, I knew Bryan before he became a leader here, but I just watched him bringing Reading, getting them all fired up, and then I've seen him do it at the region again. And then I just look forward to seeing you. I said from the first time he started leading that I saw him up here, I said he's a man of vision, but a man of action, because I've seen vision, but it's a rare combination that somebody has great ideas and finds the right people to do it, encourages them, does it himself. So I look forward to watching further progress. My family. Some of my strongest union critics are in my family. But you know what? They taught me to get the message out and make it clear, because they were going to criticize me. Oh, you're having a meeting at Bear Creek, Neil? Yeah, but here's what we did. Here's what we're talking about. Here's how it helps. Not just teachers, educators, but middle class and America. My in-laws, when I went for this position, you all know it's not just us, it's our families that are part of it to allow us to do it. My in-laws said, yeah, you can run for that as long as you get a better car, because you're going to be driving my grandchild around. and they were going to do a lot of babysitting. So I agreed to that. So my in-laws, my wife, too many of our date nights were union meetings. Too many. Soggy salad at the Northampton place. And the stuffing, we got to know that meal. We look forward to it. But she'll be happy that I get a little bit more time with her.
Sure.
She wants me to run again. It's too late. Bridget, her first trip, and some of you have been around for a while, her first trip was a union trip. In my arms, 6 months old in an RA. And I know that her union, I didn't come from union blood. My dad was a stockbroker and my mom was a nurse, and neither one unionized. So my daughter's not going to be in that position. She's going to see what we do and the family. She was writing a creative story and she shared it with me the other day. And it was, she was at a meeting. All those in favor say aye. She would have done it better than I did today. And my mom's last trip. My mom's last trip was an RA. The three of us were, you know. I've shared this before, but after she passed away, I went down in her basement clearing out her stuff. And then I'll be sharing at Gettysburg. She made a binder of the trip. And I've shared this before too. When we went around the table and she said what she was most proud of, for me it was my union work and my teaching. And she always raised me to say, Mom, when anything I ever won, she said, you have to get up and say, you owe it all to Mom. Thank you, Mom. I consider what I do God's work too. So you don't have to be working in religious school to be doing God's work with God's children. I hope I've gained your trust. I thoroughly enjoyed gaining information and sharing information. I don't hesitate to email. And I'm just going to wrap it up. Thank you for listening. I gave a lot of time, so thank you for giving me your time for this. I'm going to go back to my invocation. Thank you for love. Thank you for friends. God needs you. Keep supporting each other. Be kind to each other. Love each other. It's a difficult job. God calls you to do it. Thank you.
Eastern PSEA is more than just a hashtag or a website. It's a family, folks. We're proud of this family. And other points of personal privilege, Sean Kerbin and Jenna Broadhead have asked for one. Sean and Jenna.
Sean and I wanted to take the opportunity to thank you guys for electing us into our new positions. Aaron will be sure to remind me that I have very big shoes to fill, and I'm not looking to fill those shoes, but just looking to extend them.
I would also like to thank you for your vote of confidence. I said a couple of years ago that this is kind of the direction I wanted to go, and here I am. And I'm really, really excited, but I have to tell you, you're not getting weather reports from me. Ain't happening.
Are there any other points of personal privilege that anybody would like to make? Seeing none, I would like to thank you for your faith in me. You know, I told my wife, oh yeah, that's right, I'm up for election. Like after everything else I was putting together and thinking about and putting together Tim and Lori's stuff and making sure that our guests had a good time. Guests, did you enjoy yourselves? Thank you. Thank you. Let's give our guests a round of applause again, please. And fighting off what I thought might potentially be a cold, and I said, not today, Satan, ain't gonna happen. And I thought to myself, oh yeah, that's right, I'm up for election again. And I just need to let you know, there's been no greater honor in my professional career than to be able to be your voice in Harrisburg and to be able to represent such a strong-willed, such a passionate, such an intelligent and vibrant group of people. You make me proud every single day to wake up and be the Eastern Region President, and I hope I can make you just as proud. So thank you very much.